All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and this time I'm actually very excited to see this duel because it's going to be Drakova on his alt Ruklar. By the way, the first video I made in this little Drakova duel series is the one where he's fighting a rogue. So I guess I need to summarize before I start again. Derp. Which is basically, okay, so basically what's going on here is there was a dueling tournament on Faralina the other day, or actually today as I'm recording this, and Drakova got on his alt Ruklar, which is a dwarf paladin, and this alt is specifically designed to be a flat proc paladin, meaning that while it will eventually like to have T2, it's a perfectly viable build in T1 for the most part, which is what he's wearing. He's wearing like a T2 helm, and then everything else is T1 as near as I can tell. Maybe he's mixing and matching some gear. I can't really see his gear too well. But he's using flat proc items like Deathbringer and a Maelstrom trinket. And in this dueling tournament, he ends up going deep prot. So he ends up being, what is it? We're recording, aren't we? Yeah, okay. So it ends up going like deep prot. We're talking like no points in holy, like 31 or more in protection, all the way down to holy shield, and then he put his rest of his points in ret. And specifically, he went down to go get 5 points in parry. So if you're doing the math, against physical attacks and against physical things like gouge or physical CCs such as scattershot and so forth, he's got usually he's got like a 65% chance to block, and then he's got another 10% chance to parry, and then he's got like a 2% chance to dodge. And by the time you're done adding that up, it's some stupid number like a 77% chance to just kind of wave that shit away. To say nothing of the sheer amount of reflect damage that he's able to put back on target. And in the rogue video, you could see quite clearly that and I already knew this before I went in, but he's basically the bane of every rogue's existence, deep prot. But even in the gear that he was sporting, he probably would have got the job done with like a Holy Reckoning build or otherwise. But a deep prot versus a rogue, man, there's almost no chance. And I spelled out the win conditions at the very end of the video and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I wasn't very interested to see the Drakova versus Rogue matchup because I know the build is terrifying. His gear is terrifying. There's almost no way he can win unless he plays like a complete moron. And, of course, it's Drakova, so he's not going to play like a complete moron. So that wasn't a very exciting matchup for me. But here we have him fighting the Druid. And I'm going to do basically 3 videos. I'm going to show him fighting Rogue, I'm going to show him fighting the Druid, and then I'm going to show him fighting the Hunters. So I might just loop in the Hunters into this video, depending upon how short or how long it is. But I can see what his win condition is versus the Hunters. I'm very curious to see what his win condition is versus the Druid. And as this battle wears on, I'm going to slowly try to figure out what the hell his win condition actually is against the Druid, unless he like whips out a mug of hurt when they're like low life, low mana. So yeah, very curious about this. He'll tier 1 though. He's going to be wearing quite a bit of MP5 gear and the sheer durability. He's not going to give a fuck. There is no way for this Druid to effectively kill him. My question is then how does he kill the Druid? Now that I'm thinking about it off the top of my head, Druids will typically they'll do a combination of ranged attacks and melee attacks. When I was fighting Soda Pop in a duel back during Phase 2, outside of Ironforge, which I lost, but I gave him a good run for his money. The gear difference between us was astronomical back then. Soda Poppin has a stay at range cast spells into the Druid combat style. A lot of the Druids have a melee have a cast on the Paladin into melee while my mana regens into a into some kind of a physical stun that they do on the Paladin, and then they get distance, and then they stealth, and then they get their mana back, or they just start doing the run around you, get their mana back, or they do the drink walk, run around you, get their mana back. If he can block that stun, though, I don't think this Druid's getting away from him. It's going to be very difficult, but I'm hoping he just whips out a Mug of Hurt at some point in this duel and just starts laughing his ass off. That's basically what I'm hoping, but we're going to plus play, and we're just going to see how long this takes. So, if you haven't seen the Rogue Duel, our commentator down here, I've officially dubbed him the Dancing Queen. He's not obsessive compulsive. He's hyperactive, to be absolutely for sure. So despite the fact that he's a hunter, despite the fact that he has whatever the hell it is, that Farsight or whatever the hell, Eagle Eye or something that lets him like just look at the battlefield and not dance around like a hyperactive, disordered person, that's what he's going to do. Fun fact, however, I'll pause it really fast here, even though it's going to be a really long duel. So fun fact between me and Drakova. Drakova absolutely hates me trying to heal. So like back in the day, we would go do dungeons to get gear, to get whatever, or to do arena runs, like just the two of us. And it would be me and him, and I had better healing gear than he did. So he would like DPS, and he would have me healing. Very quickly, he learned he hates me healing. Apparently, I am a shit healer in Drakova's eyes because I have OCD, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm sitting there going, this is so boring. Fuck! Why? And so I'll start doing weird things like I'll start running up and fighting alongside Drakova, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? Just heal me. Or I'll let his life get really low because I'm bored as hell and I don't want to spam rank 1 like into oblivion, and then some bad things happen and he dies. And long story short, he just really hates my healing because of OCD issues. So what he eventually did was he was like, okay, listen up, dickhead. I'll heal you, you tank. Because I had pretty decent tank gear, and he had like tier 1 for healing purposes. And what he basically discovered is that from a tanking perspective, my OCD is a boon. So my OCD from a healing perspective makes me a shit healer, apparently. And my OCD from a tanking perspective makes me amazing because my goal as I'm tanking as a Paladin is basically to not have to stop and drink as little as possible. And how you achieve that, if you're new to the game, is basically you judge Seal of Wisdom on a target. You use Seal of Wisdom for yourself, so you're doubling up the Wisdom. And then you're only really doing like 2 or 3 consecrations. Like you put down, you spam out like 3 consecrations, which takes you like 16 seconds, right? And then you just let your MP5 regenerate from, or not MP5, you just let your mana spirit regen from there. Like you throw down 3 consecrations, 2 to 3 consecrations to hold aggro, and then no more, and you're good. And you can doing it this way, I can get through like 4 or 5 packs of mobs. If I'm thinking like Strath Undead, for example, before I have to actually stop and drink. And apparently that makes me a good Paladin for some frickin' reason. I don't know. Now eventually you can't do that when people's gear starts to get better. As you all know, Consecration has like a 5% spell power ratio, so it does not scale for threat purposes anywhere near as much as everybody else's gear does. But even then, you could just ask your DPS to like chill on their DPS for like a few seconds and then open up because of how Consecration aggro works in general. It's just more important that the Paladin does not have to stop to drink all too often. And your goal is to try to line up the Paladin's drinking with like the DPS's drinking as closely as possible to keep it going. Anyways, long story short, I'm a good tank. I know a thing or two about these one-handed endurance style strategies. But I'm just going to watch, and we're going to try to figure out what the hell Drakova's plan here is for actually finishing off this Druid. Dude, our commentator boy here would be in such good shape if he just didn't put those cookies in his mouth. Like, I'm not going to lie, I'm dieting right now. Drakova's dieting too. Both of us have lost like 20 pounds at this point. And Oh, other fun facts about me and Drakova. So Drakova used to be a fatty back in the day. Like, you ever see him show pictures or anything? He used to be like a giant fat kid, and then he said screw this, and he actually got into shape. And he looks good in shape, but he looks kind of like a gangster. And since he doesn't articulate too well, it's pretty funny. But then he got a girlfriend. He got married. Classic came out, so we've all been sitting on our asses for months and months. And he got fat, and I got fat, and so I was in the same boat. I wasn't a fat kid. I was actually a really in shape kid. But then I got fat when I got out of the military, and I lost it. I lost like 70 pounds a while ago, and I regained it again recently. To say no small part of classic WoW. So it's diet time again. Holy crap! Did he almost kill him? What the hell's happening? I haven't been paying attention. Okay, so what's the state of this druid? Okay, druid's full life. This is just the wearing of the mana down phase. He doesn't have a judgment on, so he's not using judgment of light or judgment of wisdom or anything that I can see, which is kind of fascinating. Maybe he's got it on and I'm just not noticing. The camera movement's kind of frustrating. He's beating the shit out of this druid, that's for sure. You didn't go for the kill there. Like, that's not a kill to you for like a stun or like a nade and all that stuff. There's some theoretical kill potential there, I think. Let me go back. Let me check. Maybe he used the grenade or something already, or maybe there's like a limited number of grenades you can use per round. Yeah, the rules in these duels are really weird. It's like you can only use one bubble, and people can fap and stuff. One bubble per duel, and it's like, But he's deep prot, so he's going to give literally no shits. The best thing he can do in this phase is just do as much damage as possible and try to wear down the druid's mana. Kills typically come on druids when the druids they do not have enough mana to actually shapeshift and then just run away. But again, this is going to be a long endurance fight. This is always a long endurance fight. MP5 and Spirit Regen are your boy. If you notice, he's not even judging damage into the druid. He's just going to let his spirit tick away. And to be perfectly honest, he's probably using a rank 3 SOR, even though it doesn't scale, which jack shit he has. Who am I kidding? You want to use a max rank SOR with Deathbringer up. See right there? He's wearing Uther Strength Trinket, which I actually find fascinating. He was wearing it against the Rogue, which is good. I find it fascinating that he's also wearing it against the Druid, but maybe he doesn't have anything else. Off the top of my head, Uther Strength is decent. I can't really think of any other trinket I might want to use. Maybe a PvP trinket, just because I'm thinking of that win condition. And the win condition is I don't let the rogue stun me, and I keep physically on top of them, and I beat them to death with Mugger Hurt. This druid might just die here. He has a stun though, so I don't think so. He's in bear form. It's questionable. How much damage did that do? It didn't look like it did shit. Okay, I got the stun. Good. Got a judge. Not a stun hit judge, so he's just... Oh, yeah. That hammer rat didn't do fuck all. So this druid's going to have to use nature swiftness, like this or that. So he didn't have a chance to block that or anything. I'm curious to see if... But this is how they stay alive on the warrior's end, is they do this little melee attack stun, which you can see right here, and they stop and they get some healing. Well, that was pretty good to go for the attempted kill. It's kind of bad in the sense, if you think about it, that it didn't succeed, because now the druid has half a brain. He'll be far more respectful of Ruklar's burst capability. But dear God, look at the druid's mana. The druid's mana has been chunked 6 ways from Sunday. It's such a weird matchup, druid versus paladin, if you actually break it down, because there's an aspect of the more damage I do, the quicker I waste their mana, and then there's an aspect of, wait a minute, if I let my MP5 my spirit regen, then you know. If I let my spirit regen, then I'll just have more mana, and they'll eventually run out of mana. So, depending upon your strategy or the type of paladin that you are, Like with my spell paladin one-handed build, I have to go the damage route because that's where I'm geared. With Ruklar's build here, he has to go the endurance route, and you can already see that the results of the endurance. He's going into travel form. The results of the endurance, again, he didn't get to block that stun, which kind of worries me. I'm not even sure if it can be blocked. I'll keep watching for that. In fact, I could just go ask him right now. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me pause the video a second. I'll just go ask him. Sheesh. Yeah, I thought you guys might like this, so I'll just show the interactions, see how long it takes him to respond. That's adorable. Let's see here. Start chat. Hey, dickhead. Can I think it's called. I'm not really sure what can the Druid bear stun be blocked or parried? And we'll see how long that takes. All right, so back here. He's super low mana. If I recall, he went travel form to... Ooh, I'm bashing my mic around. Super low mana. He went travel form to get away. He doesn't really have a choice. So the smart thing, this Druid, is... Oh, right there. Okay, good boy. Good. Oh, fuck. Come on, bro. There we go. So you can see Drakova starting to do some wisdom action. So he's got some Judgment of Wisdom on him. He doesn't have lasting Judgment in this build, like not at all. So it's going to be a waste of mana here, but... Wisdom procs are weird in the sense that they are a flat proc rate. So, what was I thinking about? Right. So you get much more pullback from the flat proc rate stuff off of a fast weapon than you do with a slow one-handed weapon such as this. But he's got all the mana. He just drinks. What a fucking pimp. He's like, nah, just get a drink tick in. I don't give a fuck. Oh, God, that's pretty brutal. So, if you're not keeping track of what's going on here, his best way to keep the Druid in combat at this point with his spec is just to drink. So his drinking forces the Druid to keep him in combat, which means number one, it means it means that he can't drink walk, which is a big deal, and more importantly, Ruklar is still spirit regenning even with this interrupt to his drink. So he gets a tink in, he's still spirit regenning. He might cast a seal here or cleanse. Okay, that might not have been worth it. Oh, gee, I wonder if that was loud. It was loud over here, that's for sure. I think so. Dodge, parry, no dodge. What the? Okay. All right, well, we'll close that down, I guess. Once we pull this up, and it'll be like some weird Pornhub thing in the background. Do. Parry and dodge, I mean no block. Okay, alright, that's said. Why am I killing Discord? I want to kill, yeah, we can just go here and go boop. Okay. What the? Why am I still hearing this? That's why. Come on. Where are you at? Where are you at? I don't know what this host thing is. It really bothers me. But when I turn it off, it's like, go away. Oh, there we go. Come on. Come here. Die. Die. Yeah, thank you. Go away now. It's at this point I realize maybe I should have... Thank you. Fuck off. Okay, cool. So I'm very curious where... So in this case, I guess he can't really block the maul stun. Or whatever it's called. So this is going to be a long fight. Pure and simple. Oh, again, let me get a timestamp for this. So timestamp is like 3 hours and 50 minutes. Highly suggest, since the viewing of these videos is kind of crud, thanks to our Dancing Queen hyperactive disorder buddy here. Highly suggest that you go and watch the video yourself, and you can just listen to me talk about it at worst. There's actually really not much to say. This Druid should be super low mana. Maybe he got some drink ticks in. I really don't know. I really don't care. It is physically impossible for him to kill the Paladin, which is why I'm entirely focused on being very curious. Oh, it should also be note that if you don't have the MP5 gear, your next best course of action is to work the spirit regen. So you can see he's got Judgment of Wisdom on him, so he's working that angle. But just not using your Judge on cooldown is kind of the way to go. But what Drakova's doing right now is he's got the Wisdom on the bear. And with the Wisdom on the bear, this is giving him enough mana back, in his opinion, that he can now do some judgments. But this is a little... Know what you can do and what you can do, what you can do and can't do in this matchup. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a place where you're low mana and things are going to get a little frisky. And you'll probably see he'll be noticing pretty soon that he's kind of low mana and he's not going to be throwing out anywhere near as much judgments, which we can kind of see right here. I'm really hoping that he has lifesteal on that weapon because on his Deathbringer. Mainly because lifesteal is really fascinating in the sense that it's not flat proc. It's actually like a PPM. It procs with the Seal of Righteousness once every 6.66 seconds of swing time you put in your target. So the lifesteal enchant, while I do enjoy it on my fast weapon, it is also kind of it's really good on the slower weapons just because it doesn't care how fast you're swinging your weapon for proc purposes, and it will give you back more mana. Because the lifesteal procs do count as a Shadow Bolt, and the Shadow Bolts, for some reason, do give you back mana. I haven't tested to see whether the Deathbringer's proc, which is also a Shadow Bolt, potentially gives you back mana. But when you have lifesteal proc, sometimes you'll hit the target, and you'll get back like 5 or 6 things of mana just blah, 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 instantly, and you're like, what the hell just happened? What happened was you probably had SOR, or it's just each Shadow Bolt has 2 chances of giving you back mana. He's just going to win here. Hammer Wrath dead. Hammer Wrath. Judge. The bear is still alive. The bear is regenerating. It's not going to matter. 6 seconds is going to be over. 6 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, just ended. So let me go back and actually try to figure out what's killing this Druid. Oh, all right. So where's the reset for him to try to get mana? That's the question. What's the win condition? Is it just the Druid overextends? There is one win condition that Drakova technically has here. His win condition is, and I've fought against this Paladin. As a flat proc Paladin, sometimes everything just comes flying out of you, and you just do way more damage than the enemy is expecting, like, all of a sudden. This situation becomes even more so the case when you're a Reckoning Paladin, such as Drakova is here in this case. So what might happen is suddenly you just get this huge damage spike when it's very unhealthy for your opponent to have a huge damage spike. So he's low on mana. He's not doing a drink, run, walk, which is exactly what Soda Poppin' did to me, which was actually quite terrifying. He should be drink walking here, but he's very interested in... See, here's what's fascinating to me is that the Druid is actually trying to win this duel. His actions that he's taking are... He's absolutely hell-bent on not letting Drakova get any mana back whatsoever from drinking. But what that unfortunately does is it means that you, as the Druid, also can't drink. And one of these two classes can get by without drinking and still win the fight, and the other one cannot. And I think we're about to see that here momentarily. So this is another win condition. You just kind of wait around to annoy the Druid to death until the Druid makes a mistake. So the Druid is now completely out of mana. Like, he used the last bit of mana he had to shapeshift. He's on top of Drakova. Drakova has a stun, and Drakova has enough mana to get the job done. The odds that he does not kill the Druid here are very poor. I think he has to use bubble to do it, if I recall. But he's just hoping that he's probably sensing that the Druid is making a bit of mistake and he's low life. So Drakova probably doesn't mind going a little crazy on the DPS. Did he pop a DPS trinket, or am I crazy? Maybe he popped a Zandalari Hero Charm. I just didn't notice it. There was some shit coming out of him that I'm not really sure what's going on. So I'm watching Drakova, watching Drakova. Okay, what's he doing here? I'm not sure what is proccing on him. That might be Crusader? I'm not sure. He might be using Seal Command because he does have a freaking Deathbringer. I'm not sure what this glowing chunk of light is, or if that is Zandalari Hero Charm activating. But this is a amazing time for Drakova to go ham. Like this is a moment when you say to yourself as a paladin, it's like, okay, this guy is half-life. He's coming in on me. I have a stun. I have a bubble. All I need is some good RNG and some DPS, and this fight is done. Right? So that's kind of my thought process. Now is the time to go ham. Now's the time even to consider throwing down Judgment of the Crusader as opposed to Judgment of Wisdom. But Judgment of Wisdom is still good because it basically hedges your bets and it's free. You can judge damage as opposed to Crusader, for example, which might be the better plan here. But he just really wants to do some damage to this Druid. He's like, come on, chunk you down, let's go, I'm going to kill you, blah, 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 blah. So about this point, he's probably thinking to himself, the moment this bear tries to stun me and tries to go for the reset, I'm instantly bubbling and I'm going for the kill. Now, the reason why this is in your mind is because the bear has gone into Hammer of Wrath range. And it's really that simple. Like, a bear in Hammer of Wrath range, that is a kill opportunity. So, seeing this, let's see how quick he is in this stun. Let's see if that was in his brain all along. Boom. Okay. Stun. I think he gets that one hit in and then he goes for the stun. Stun, Judge, doesn't quite get him. Decides, oh, okay, so we caught him doing a Holy Light. He's still doing it right. I love this. So I praised him this in the Rogue video. This is the correct action. So you notice he throws a Hammer of Wrath here. He goes for the Judge, and then he immediately starts doing a heal. And what is the theoretical behind this? Well, the theoretical is I can go for... He's doing a situation assessment while doing a heal. Now, his weapon swing timer is on cooldown. So, at any given point in time, and you can do this in normal fights, but at any given point in time, you can just decide to cancel the heal, and you'll lose no swing time. So the idea is you do a swing with your weapon, you like judge into the target or do whatever you need to do. Immediately go for the heal. Take an assessment of the situation. Do I finish this heal or do I try to go for the kill? If you cancel the heal midway or even almost all the way through, the odds are good that you lost almost no swing time on your weapon whatsoever. So we're looking at the assessment. He decides, this is a kill opportunity. He's got nade to work with. His next auto attack's going to be coming through pretty soon. And he just goes, eat this. That might be a grenade. It might be a mortar. Fuck if I know what the hell that was. Yeah, definitely a grenade. And that just ends it. And it's over. Good call. Good RNG management. Good threat assessment. Yeah, you could definitely tell he was going for the DPS on that one. I'm pretty sure that was a ZG trinket. I could be wrong. I just recently got a ZG trinket. I suppose I could go check it out. But no, that was the opportunity to pop whatever DPS items you got and go to town. Because the Druid is going to be in a world of hurt. Because you can just bubble the stun. You can stay on them. You have your own stun. He was within Hammer of Wrath range before he decided to leave. He's not going to be getting out of that one too easily. So, what do I think of that win condition? Let me think. Because I still remember, it's still fresh in my mind, dueling soda popping back in the day. Drakova won here so easily and cleanly because the Druid was trying to go for the win as opposed to trying to, like, spend his time drinking while the Paladin drinking. And you can't really blame the Druid too much for that because it's like, if you're drinking and letting the Paladin drink, you're never, ever going to kill that Paladin. It's like almost an impossibility. Especially if he's got the right gear, which, you know, tier 1 is pretty much good to go. Guess I can't speed through this. That sucks. But I still really want. I don't like win conditions that rely on my opponent to be stupid. I definitely know Drakova does not like win conditions that rely on people to be stupid. I'm actually recording this. Let me check here real fast. Dancing Queen, Sweet 16. Okay. Yeah, I know he doesn't like relying on his opponent being stupid. Sometimes you just have to. Like, sometimes the matchup is as such that you just need either RNG to go your way or for your opponent to be retarded. He definitely has the RNG advantage. Like, at any point in time, the Druid could theoretically, like, crit him 3 times, and the next thing he knows, the Druid is just going to take a shit ton of damage. Okay, that was it. Alright, let's see what happened here, specifically. Did the Druid stay in too long? That is the question. It would help if we could actually target the Paladin and the Druid. That would be nice. Okay, Druid's running away. Don't know why the Druid's running away. I couldn't tell you why the Druid's running away. Our boy here is reading chat, for sure. They're fighting way off in the distance. Don't worry, one day we'll see what's going on. The Druid is being super aggressive. Drakova must be reflecting a shit ton of damage. If you see the way he zigs and he zags back, zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging and do a little jump and leap backs, he's trying to really work the reflect damage onto the Druid. My theory is the Druid stays in too long. Okay, now we're getting a situation report. So the Druid is... Could I stun and go for a kill as Ruklar here? It's a little iffy. I still would like... I would like the Druid to stay a little bit longer, take a little bit more damage, and then, yeah, there we go, okay. Yeah, we might have a victory here. Because the Grenade, Hammer of Wrath, yeah, okay, toast. So again, you can't stay in with the Paladin within that Hammer of Wrath range. Especially if he's still got his stun, and God help him if he's got stun and bubble. Let me skip forward and see if that's... I think that's it. I think he's doing a best of 3. Yeah, okay. So they're just done. So, no Mugger hurt. Kind of sad to see that. I know he has it in his back pocket on Ruklar. Maybe he pulls it out against the Hunter. I'll see how long this video is. I might do a separate one for the Hunter. 33 minutes, Jesus Christ. There's that long form content for you. Your actual win, just so we're clear, your actual win condition against most Druids, if they're not going to just give you the win by you being so tanky. Okay, so here's what was causing Drakova to win under these circumstances. One, he's so fucking tanky that he doesn't actually need to use his stun to heal. Okay, so he's just sitting on a stun, and he's just kind of waiting there going, are you going to be dumb enough to stay in with me and get low enough life that I can just kill you? Which is a problem. When I duel Druids, a lot of times I have to use the stun to heal, and this gives them long windows to stay even longer in on me. Also, since he's deep protection, he can do a lot of reflect damage. He can rely a lot of his DPS on his reflect damage. His flat proc DPS is not half bad. The Deathbringer DPS is not half bad. Reckoning comes in big time with a Deathbringer, especially on flat proc builds. He just has that stun in his back pocket because, again, your durability in these toe-to-toe fights for the purposes of still having your stun, not having to use your stun to heal, and therefore having your stun available for being offensive. It comes down to a combination of how much damage are you returning back to the target. Subsequently, they have to pull off and heal first. This happens with rogues. This happens with druids, as you can see here. If you can do enough damage into them that it's them who have to heal before it's you who have to heal, right? This goes for rogue. This goes for druid. This goes for warrior to some extent. What ends up happening is you don't have to use your stun defensively to heal yourself. And your stun is available for offense, which just makes the situation of your opponent far, far more critical, because it means they have to pull out of the combat with even more hit points than they normally would. So normally they could stay in and be safe at like 20% hit points. Now, because you don't have a stun to chase them down with, now they have to get the hell out of there at like 30 or 40% hit points. And even then, you can usually cobble together enough burst to make that kind of dangerous for them to do. Somewhere between grenade stun and your judgment and consecration and blah, 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 blah. But in this case, yeah, he's got a combination of the durability and the combination of the reflect damage that he's clearly able to hold on to his stun for offensive uses. And the druid is just dying to it, basically. If a druid is more intelligent, like you're going up against a soda poppin who has a lot more experience with the matchup, Mugger Hurt starts becoming your boy. And the gameplay that you're really taking as the paladin is you want to wear down the druid's mana, and then you want to get lucky with Mugger Hurt, and you kind of just want to beat them to death inside of Mugger Hurt, because once the Mugger Hurt slow is on the druid, they really only have two options, because they can't shapeshift out of it. They literally have to stay in combat with you until the Mugger Hurt slow is removed. And the odds of a Mugger Hurt slow reapplying in that amount of time, we'll find a calculator here, are pretty good. So the Mugger Hurt slow is like 10 seconds. You're plugging away with your Mugger Hurt at 1.7 second speed. That is literally a 59% chance that you reapply another Mugger Hurt slow before the previous Mugger Hurt slow wore off. And then if you factor in like chilling icy weapon effect, it's an even greater likelihood. And then if God help you, if you have your 6-second stun on offense. So basically what happens is they get slowed, you're still beating on them. There's like a 59% chance that you reapplied the slow. If you failed to reapply the slow before they can get distance away from you, usually, unless they're in bear form, like maybe they're in bear form while this is happening, you can just stun them, and then within those 6 seconds, you end up pumping like another 1.7. So you like wait a fraction of a second, and then you pump in like another 4 attacks into them, and then you're already over. You're at 109% chance to slow them off your 6-second stun. Is basically what I'm saying. So the odds of you being able to go from one Mugger Hurt proc to another Mugger Hurt proc to even a third Mugger Hurt proc are pretty good. Like it's going to happen more often, maybe not more often than not, but like every time you go for that, it'll probably happen like 50% of the time. Well, if a druid that really wants to just run the hell away from you and heal is like stuck in melee combat with you for upwards of like 20-25 seconds and they don't have a choice, they're gonna fucking die. Especially if they're low life and you have the more spell power oriented build. And this statement becomes way more terrifying if you've mixed in like a PvP trinket, for example, and a Zandalari Hero's Charm, which is what I highly suggest for this particular matchup. And the reason why PvP trinket and Zandalari Hero Charm go in really well is because when the druid, okay, so if the druid cannot stun you to get away, so let's say the druid can't stun you to get away, what's actually taking place is, I love this video, by the way. This lady's talking about the alone moose kill. I'm from Alaska, so every time I hear anything about that kind of stuff, it's kind of fascinating. I wanted the calculator. Yeah, there we go. Am I being a bad boy? And every time I press C in here, there's like some terrible, terrible things that happen. This is my wife, by the way, Miss Amy Ho. You can go pester her if you really want to. Civil War definition. Yeah, I was. I'm tired of people saying that there's like American Civil War, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is like civil conflict or civil unrest or civil insurrection at best. But what was I going for? Okay, calculator. So if the druid can stun you, check to make sure I'm recording here while I get my thoughts together. 40 minutes. What the fuck? If the druid can stun you, right? The play has to be that the moment before your Megahertz slow falls off, or even like a couple seconds before your Megahertz slows off, because the druid might be intelligent enough to actually be like, oh, there's 2 seconds left on the Mega slow. I'm going to stun this bitch for 6 seconds, and then I'm going to suffer, and then I'm going to get away, right? He's going to suffer the 2-second slow while he's trying to escape, and then he's going to get away from you. You have to throw that stun before that happens. Right, so you got to throw your stun at like 8 seconds or 2 seconds left on the slow, or 3 seconds left, and that really sucks, right? Because you look at the math, that really sucks. But if you have PvP trinket, you can just brush aside that 6-second stun, and what ends up happening is it forces the druid to suffer through all 10 seconds of the slow while you're beating on them. Then it takes the druid, they have to shape shift to try to get away from you, which again burns mana, and it puts them in a more vulnerable form than the bear that they were likely in before. This is assuming that the moment they stunned you, you just trinketed it, right? Just boom, gone, like whatever. And you can do this with bubble too. You can do like a bubble cancel, would be preferable, I think, or maybe you don't cancel the bubble. I don't know. I have to think about that. But anyways, let's say they can't. So not only do they have to stay with you for 10 seconds, when the slow finally wears off, they have to shapeshift to get away from you. So they shapeshift and they get away from you. You get to let them run like 10 yards. The point is that during the time it takes them to shapeshift, and during the time it takes them to start being able to get out of range of your 10-second stun, or your 10-yard range 6-second stun, even more time has passed, and that ends up being like an additional like 4 seconds, because you're chasing after them, they're trying to run away at X speed. Okay, they're almost getting away, and then you stun them, right? So then they're stuck there for another 4 seconds, and this is all time that you're just beating on them. Like there's no downtime for trying to reapply a proc stun. So then they're stuck there for another 6 seconds in this more vulnerable form. And then on top of that, when they finally get out of that, they have to get away from you again, which takes about another, we'll say 2 seconds. It's probably closer to 3, about 3 seconds to get away from melee range from you again while you're trying to chase after them. So we total that all up, and we divide that by 1.7, and we get to see just what the likelihood of us applying another slow proc on them is. And this gets even worse with Chilly Weapon Enchant, because even if they get... So the 10-second slow with SOR has a 10% chance to proc per hit. So already you can see here we're at 135% chance that it would have reapplied another 10-second slow upon the druid. Chilling Weapon Enchant is another slow effect that I think lasts like 5 seconds. It's a physical slow effect, which means that it cannot be cleansed. But it can be shape-shifted out of, which is nice. But that still is terrifying. So let's say that you didn't get the 10-second slow to reapply, but somewhere in here you got the Chilly Weapon to apply for another few seconds, or for a little bit more time. Well, that's another situation where the druid has to shape-shift out of travel form, which removes the slow. Then they have to shape-shift back into travel form and then get the hell away from you. So that adds additional seconds of their time, and it puts a staggering drain upon their mana. If they were low mana to begin with, they had to basically decide... They had to go from bear form into travel form, so that's one shift. Then if a Chilly Weapon went off, they got to shrug it off with... They have to do another shift, basically. And if they're low enough mana, a lot of times they just can't afford that next shift. And it's actually quite terrifying. And if you're a complete dick, you basically weave in Grenade into this, right? So It might be the case that they had to do 2 shifts to get away from you, and now they're finally away from you, and they're like, oh, God, thank God I'm finally away from that frickin' stupid-ass Paladin. And then you, like, grenade them, and you catch up to them off the 1.5-second stun of the grenade, and you start beating on them again, and you have a 16% chance every time you're hitting them, which you might get in another 3 hits, to apply another slow, and even if it's a chilly slow, they don't have enough mana to get out of it. The point is, it is terrifying. And meanwhile, while all this is going on, you're dealing with like an additional like plus 200 spell power. So what I like to do is I like to throw, I like to see my window of opportunity, and I like to put Crusader in them on them ahead of time. In fact, I'll probably just judge Crusader into them in general because I want to get maximum spell power with my Mugger Hurt. But anyways, Crusader will be providing like an additional, it's like 120 or 130 spell power. My gear will be rolling around at about 250 spell power, and then ZG Trinket will be going off at another 200 spell power. And so what I end up with is like in somewhere around 600-ish spell power, give or take. Or what you should be ending up with, I should say, is around 600 spell power, give or take. And then I literally multiply this by ×2 for my, it's 20% of that every time so I'm pumping DPS into this bear. He's taking like almost 120 holy damage every single auto attack. In fact, I think it's 120 damage every single auto attack. And Mugger Hurt doesn't care. Like, how many auto attacks did we say we put in? It was like 13.5 when you do it right. And then maybe you caught him with a grenade stun, or maybe you slowed even more, right? So, like I said, if you got him with the grenade stun, you get an additional 3 hits in. Or this is assuming you got no additional procs whatsoever on slow, which is highly unlikely, keep in mind. You're already looking at, what is that? You're already looking at almost 2,000 holy damage that you've managed to pump into the target during this time. Now keep in mind that you've given the Druid no chance, no say in the matter on this, is what I'm basically trying to say. Because what happened was, you got the Mugger Hurt slow, he was stuck there with you for 10 seconds. During that time, at some point, he went for his stun. He got the stun. You instantly trinketed the stun. You're still beating on him. For some reason, you're getting unlucky, so you're not getting any freaking... you're not getting any additional slow procs, but even with the use of, like, just your stun and then grenade and being tactically minded about it, you were able to get in, like, 16.5 auto attacks, which is over, with your ZG Trinket rolling, which is over, like, 2,000 magic damage already. Is it actually 16 auto attacks? So your ZG Trinket was running for, like, 20 seconds divided by 1.7. I don't think... Okay. So, yeah. So... whatever. Okay, so somewhere between your ZG Trinket and your Judgments and your grenade damage, you're going to be doing over 2,000 damage, for sure, right? And I don't know about you, but if the Druid was like at 30% life when he decided he wanted to boogie away from you, let's say they got 6,000 life in bear form, which is probably, whatever, we'll be generous as hell. Let's say they got 7,000 life in bear form, and they were at 30% life. That's a dead Druid. Hell, if the Druid was at 40% life, let's check that out. 40% life before he decided to boogie. 0.4. That's still a dead Druid. That's a Hammer of Wrath range kaput Druid. I didn't calculate physical damage because that's a little bit difficult to do. A lot of this damage that you were doing on your target was them in some kind of travel form or in human form otherwise. So this is a dead Druid. This is you killing a Druid with them having no say in the matter, with bad RNG from 40% life, and they can't do fuck all about it. With good RNG, you're killing them at around 60% life or more. Like, they just can't do anything. They're just going to fucking die. They're just going to... So... I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get to see Ruklar bust out the Mug of Hurt that I gave him to kill this Druid, but you can kind of see how it works with Peaceblade, because Peaceblade in his duels has enough spell power. I made some videos on that where he's dueling a Druid, and he's he gets multiple Mug slows, and the Druid just kind of withers and dies because of it, and that's basically how we're killing the Druids these days. They can't get out of it with shape-shifting, they can't get out of it with Spider Belt, and the icy chilling enchant is just icing on the cake that sometimes comes off, and it's just like it's a mana check every time the icy chilling comes off. And it lets you gain some ground, which is really fascinating. Like, I've seen situations where the Druid is just getting away from me, and I get like the last swing on them with the Mug of Hurt, and the chilly weapon comes out, and then because they have to shift back into human form and then shift back into travel form, they're still slowed for like a fraction of a second or so, and you end up catching up to them a little bit closer, and it's just nice. But it's basically a mana check. Do you have enough mana to do an additional shifting round, or you're dead, basically. But yeah, so I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to go do the Hunter one, because I want to see him pull out a Mug of Hurt, bro. But I'm pretty sure in the Hunter one, what we're going to see is the Hunter cannot scattershot Ruklar or Drakova. And because of that, he's just going to beat him to death. And on top of that, Reckoning, even a one-handed Reckoning build, especially a one-handed Reckoning build with like a Deathbringer, oh god, the Hunter is never not going to be 50% life. That's basically my prediction. I'm going to be seeing a Hunter that's never not 50% life, and then he's going to have issues because Scattershot's not working too well, and he's probably going to take a Wreck Bomb to the face, and he's probably just going to die. Or you can just Mug of Hurt him to death. I'm hoping he whips out a Mug of Hurt, but we'll see. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here, and we'll call it good.